Tom Girardi's longtime accountant has been sentenced to 10 years in federal prison, and it comes as Erika Jayne is facing possible trial in a lawsuit from the bankruptcy trustee that wants $25 million from her. I was in court for the 2-hour hearing when Chris Kamon was sentenced, and I have all the notes on what Judge Josephine Staton told him, what Chris Kamon said when he had a chance to talk to the judge, what the prosecutor said, the argument with his defense attorney, and then all the sentencing papers. You can find everything on my website, legalaffairsandtrials.com. The article, Tom Girardi's CFO gets 10 years in prison as judge rejects credit for client payments, has links to all the court documents at the bottom for my paid subscribers. But it talks about how Kamon actually cried as he was apologizing for his crimes. But Judge Staton, who I've known for a long time, just covered a lot of her cases. She was a federal judge in Orange County before she came up to Los Angeles. She presided over Girardi's trial back in August. And so she knows the case really well. And she also just has a good read on people. And she told Kamon that his statements were rather vague and his written letter falsely portrayed him as a victim of the justice system. And so this is Judge Staton right here. She really wasn't having Kamon's excuses. She said he was following no one's orders in stealing that money. And she was talking about how Kamon was blaming Girardi for his crimes while ignoring his role as the mastermind of an almost equally sophisticated scheme to steal millions from the Girardi case accounts. And that's a good reminder of the fact that Kamon was actually arrested on his own side scheme that prosecutors say Tom Girardi didn't even know about. They say that Kamon was helping Girardi steal from clients, and these are clients who have been terribly injured in accidents, catastrophically injured, or it's their parents and family members who are trying to get money to care for them. So these are people who really, really need the money, and Girardi was embezzling their settlements. And Kamon was helping him do it as the accountant. But also, he had his own side scheme that he was running against Girardi Keese that Girardi didn't know about that was lining his pockets with millions of dollars. So this went on for years. Kamon was the accountant at Girardi Keese, which is Girardi's law firm, for years and years and years. And now he's been in jail since December 2022, and he's not getting out for a while. 121-month prison sentence. So that's just 1 month over 120 months. He should be credited for time served in federal custody already, but that's still a significant time to serve. Now, the charges against Kamon and Girardi related to 4 client settlements. And in Girardi's trial last summer, we heard testimony from 4 clients, former clients of Girardi's, that talked about the years of lies that they withstood and all the money that they were hoping to get from their settlement that Girardi just ended up fleecing them over. You can see Girardi there last summer. Kamon didn't testify in his trial, and we don't have a picture of him. We're not allowed to take pictures in federal court, and I've never seen him outside of the courthouse. But he's 51 years old. He had a girlfriend for a number of years that he was actually paying an allowance to, a monthly allowance to, of $20,000. That's how much money he was stealing from Girardi Keese. But she testified in Girardi's trial, so we heard from her. Prosecutors said Kamon spent his embezzled money on several homes that he renovated, including one in the Bahamas that he hoped to live in after Girardi's fraud began to be publicly exposed. He was actually arrested in December 2022 when he flew back from the Bahamas to Maryland, and he's never been back to the Bahamas since. But he collected exotic cars, and he had entrepreneurial endeavors, including owning a company that rented a portable stripper poles. And his girlfriend was Nicole Rakita. And she testified about the $20,000 a month allowance. And she also testified that he paid for her to build a keto-friendly restaurant called Rokita that never opened. So we got kind of a window into how Kamon was stealing and spending client money. But of course, the big question for a lot of people is, where is Erika Jayne in all this? She did not testify in Girardi's trial either. She's come up in testimony a lot, and testimony has indicated that they are still in contact too. They filed for divorce, and their divorce is still pending, but their divorce has not been finalized. And we heard testimony in trial that they have regular phone conversations, and that he he still talks to her regularly. So I am hesitant to call them estranged or anything like that. They're still husband and wife, although they don't live together. Tom Girardi is in a assisted living center. And remember, Judge Staton, who has tons of experience with Girardi, has said repeatedly that she thinks he's exaggerating his mental condition. Tom Girardi is due in Staton's courtroom on May 8th for a hearing on his mental status. So he was supposed to be sentenced already, and the feds want him to do 14 years in prison. Remember, he's 85 years old, and his lawyers are saying that he can't understand this at all, and he should just be allowed to remain at his assisted living center. Judge Staton found a federal law that says that if a criminal defendant after conviction, if their mental status is in question, they need to be evaluated at the Federal Medical Center for the U.S. Bureau of Prisons. There might be a possibility that he ends up in the custody of the Attorney General at a facility somewhere. So she facilitated that, and over the objection of his attorneys, actually had Girardi go into federal custody and go to North Carolina. So he was in custody, you can see here, until February 25th, 2025. He's now out, and they're preparing reports about what's going on with his mental status, and he's going to be back before the judge on May 8th. So one of the most interesting moments of Chris Kamon's sentencing was when we heard from Alyssa Miller. That's her on the screen here. She is the court-appointed trustee for Girardi Keese. That is the bankrupt law firm that Girardi owned and Chris Kamon worked for. And her job as the trustee is to try to claw back money. She's trying to recover any and all assets for the law firm that could possibly go to paying its debt. It has a lot of creditors. Some of these could be clients, but a lot of these are litigation lenders and so on and so forth. Girardi had a whole host of vendors that depended on him, that he owes money to, that he has now a long list of creditors, that any money that's recovered from this process, from clawing back the money through the adversary process, which is what Alyssa Miller is doing, would go to paying those debts, of course, after the attorney fees that come in. But Alyssa Miller gave a victim impact statement and said that she is still trying to recover actually the luxury home in the Bahamas that Chris Kamon bought with stolen money from Girardi Keese, and that Kamon is not cooperating with that. So she was really casting doubt on Chris Kamon's claim to Judge Staton that he is so sorry about everything and he's tried to make all his wrongs right. She was saying if that was really the truth, she wouldn't have to be up here saying that, no, we're still fighting to get possession of this home that is now degrading in value in the Bahamas and that Kamon is fighting us against. So Alyssa Miller told Judge Staton, we're trying to get a hold of those assets for the benefit of the estate, for the benefit of the creditors, and we're not getting cooperation. She also emphasized that Kamon is responsible for his own crimes. She said there's an amount of money that went to fund Mr. Girardi's lifestyle, Miss Jayne's lifestyle, and then there's an amount of money that went to fund Mr. Kamon's lifestyle and his assets. And Judge Staton said the letters from the victims reveal the effects of the fraud far beyond just the loss of their settlement funds. The client victims refer to the anguish suffered by being betrayed by those meant to protect them. They indicate a loss of faith in a system that they believed was meant to protect them. Kamon's side fraud also perhaps reflects the defendant's motivation in assisting Girardi in the main fraud, Staton said. Yeah, basically saying he had every reason to want to keep Girardi happy and let him keep stealing from clients when on the side he was making his own millions through his own side fraud and didn't want to lose his job at the firm and his access to all that money. Staton also said Kamon's letter referred to himself as being simply a 51-year-old man who made a mistake. But the judge said this was not one mistake. Instead, the defendant made a daily commitment to thinking of and acting in furtherance of his own financial interests to the detriment of others. So Kamon has another case, too. His lawyer was saying that they're hoping to get a plea deal that whatever sentence is imposed will just be served concurrently with the sentence here at the same time, so he won't get any extra prison time. But he and Girardi and somebody else from the Girardi law firm are also charged with embezzling a bunch of money. They're charged with wire fraud in Chicago federal court for stealing from victims of a plane crash. So Erika Jayne, meanwhile, is due in court So Erika Jayne, meanwhile, is fighting a lawsuit from that same bankruptcy trustee, Alyssa Miller, that seeks nearly $25 million. This is money that Tom Girardi sent her or her companies, EJ Global and Pretty Mess Inc. Incorporated, and it gave us a synopsis of the trustee's case in a recent court filing. It says the trustee further contends that the two corporate defendants were and are mere shells in the alter ego of Mr. Girardi, and therefore Mr. Girardi is personally obligated for all obligations owed by the two corporate defendants to the debtor. So they're basically saying they want Erika saddled with all this debt, that her companies cannot shield her from this, that she's the same as these companies and she should have to pay it all. It says the trustee also contends that Ms. Girardi knowingly and willingly participated in Mr. Girardi's criminal enterprise, and the money used to pay her business expenses were monies from that criminal enterprise. So that's with one of the newer judges in LA, and a status conference is scheduled for June 4th. She issued something on April 8th requesting briefing on this, and she wants to know what causes of action alleged in the first complaint allow for a jury trial. Why should the non-jury trial claims not be referred back to the bankruptcy court? This is a district court wondering why she's getting saddled with this bankruptcy issue from the Girardi Keese law firm. But anyway, the point is there is a lot going on in the the point is there is a lot going on still in the Erika Jayne, Tom Girardi saga. But Chris Kamon's sentencing certainly closes a door on what happened. U.S. Attorney's Office issued a press release about the sentencing, and we have the new U.S. Attorney in their bill saying the defendant played a key role in a long-running scheme led by Tom Girardi. For nearly 20 years, Kamon enabled Girardi's scheme to defraud vulnerable clients of the law firm. Ironically, it was Kamon's own lies that accelerated the law firm's demise. We hope the sentence exposed today brings a measure of justice to his victims. So again, you can find all my coverage of the Girardi case on my website, legalaffairsandtrials.com. Thank you guys so much for all your supports. Please subscribe and look out for more videos. Thank you.